That's when everything kind of started, was from birth for me. I was 6 weeks premature. My foot was deformed, is what they thought. It looked like a club foot. So back on my foot, my pediatric orthopedic was like, okay, well, if there's something wrong with your foot, there can't be just something wrong with your foot. That just I'm not allowed to really lift anything extremely heavy. I have to watch all my limitations, and anything that will strain my heart, I'm not allowed to do. Like I said, I didn't know any of this stuff was going on when I was in high school.
So are you saying that you were flirting with death your whole life and you just didn't know?
Pretty much. Very lucky. I should not. I'm lucky. One, I'm lucky that I'm here. Two, I'm lucky that I'm in the mental capacity that I'm in. I should have. See what helps. Every single patient is different in the forms of how much, all that they take. Naive 23-year-old that was just diagnosed with 24-year-old that was just diagnosed with homocystinuria. You tell her low protein, her brain goes to, all right, well then no meat. And my numbers were going down, but they weren't going down fast by any means.
I mean, like when you first diagnosed and you want to like lower your number, shouldn't you just like eat water and broccoli till it like, and then work your way up again?
I wish that's how it worked. I was like, I'm also 24 years old. Like I've gotten a lot better, and I do a lot better. Like I go to the grocery, and if I want to find something new, I read the nutrition label. Like I've become a pro at reading nutrition labels.
Yeah, you're like the one that like standing in the supermarket in the aisle, reading everything.
Yeah. But when you're first diagnosed, like you need that good, stable sit down talk of, this is what's going to happen. This is what you need to do. I'm a very black and white person that I need to be told. I don't remember much about the surgery, but I do remember waking up, lying in bed, crying, telling my parents, do not make me go through this. Not make me go through this.
Hello, welcome to my podcast, Two Mics, One Joe Suits. I am Joe Suits, and I'll be giving a mic to Sam. Sam is a dabbler in every category, basically. To summarize, she likes to be around people and interview as a sports reporter. She likes to be in front of and behind the camera. She's now a teacher for pre-K, so this podcast is perfect because Sam can explain everything today like we are 5 years old. How are you today?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm excited to talk to you and get to know you more. And so we'll be talking about two rare diseases today. So I always have to pronounce it just for the sake of science, I guess. So one is Homocystinuria or HCU.
Homocystinuria. Yes.
But we're going to call it HCU for the remainder of this podcast. It's a rare but potentially serious inherited condition. It means the body can't process amino acid, methionine. They call it a harmful buildup of substances in the blood and urine. She also had Loeys-Dietz syndrome, or LDS for sure. I think it's Loeys-Dietz, right?
Pronunciation. It was it's Loeys-Dietz, but yeah, you did really good on that pronunciation.
Oh, okay. I thought I messed up the first time. Okay, so Loeys-Dietz syndrome, or LDS for sure. It is a disorder that affects the connective tissue of the body and increases the patient's risk of aneurysms in arteries such as the aorta. What's crazy is that this was only identified as a condition in 2005, so that's pretty new. So
I was actually not diagnosed until 2015. I had a genetic panel done in 2006. It was Loeys-Dietz was so new in 2006 that I didn't hit any of the markers. There was only one type back then. Now there's five types. I have type 3. Type 1, I didn't fit the markers, mainly because I hit a lot of my milestones. I'm like, I shouldn't say walking, because I was casted at a very young age. I was 6 weeks premature. That's when everything kind of started, was from birth for me. I was 6 weeks premature. Back in 92 here in Louisville, they only had, if I remember my mom telling me right. Obviously, I don't remember everything. I was that really little. My mom was telling me they had to send me. There was only one NICU in the city of Louisville, and it was not where my mom had me. And my mom said,
we're talking about Louisiana, right?
No, Louisville, Kentucky.
Kentucky, yeah, okay.
So they had to angel flight me down to what was then Kosare Children's Hospital, which is now Norton Children's Hospital. I don't remember how long I was there. But I was every sense of the form 6 weeks premature, besides the factor that I think I was like 7 pounds already, and I was 6 weeks early. So imagine what I would have been if I stayed in the oven for another 6 weeks. But and I was
You'd be burned.
yeah, I would be a pretty big baby. But I was one of the biggest babies they had ever seen in the NICU at the time.
Really?
Yeah. My foot was deformed, is what they thought. It looked like a club foot. So back in '92, I don't remember when they changed the rule, but there's a recent, I don't want to say rule, but they changed it to where now babies that they think have club feet, when they're born, they don't get casted for club feet. Back in '92, that was still something that people did. So I was immediately casted for a club foot. Therefore, and by the time anyone in my family got to come see me in the NICU, I was already casted, and so therefore no one ever saw my foot.
Really?
Yes. I
Wow.
never had a club foot to begin with. I just had a left foot deformed looking foot. Later on, they realized it was probably a congenital vertical talus. I've had 7 surgeries on my left foot to recorrect everything because I did have club feet surgery. And it never was a club foot. So by the time I was 7, 8 years old, I started walking on my arch, and we had another doctor had to refix everything. So I've had 7 surgeries on my foot, 15 surgeries total.
Oh my God.
Look, I guess knock on wood, none of them have been Homocystinuria or Loeys-Dietz related. Well, I mean, I guess they kind of have, because there's certain symptoms, like, markers within certain diseases that, a lot of these people have, but, sometimes people don't have them. Like, I've had 3 hernias already in my lifetime, and I had them actually before the age of 10. But,
You lived like a whole lifetime before the age of 10.
yeah, yeah. And then I had Chiari Malformation, which is basically a kink in your brainstem. Your brain kind of falls in the back of your skull. That can be a marker for Loeys-Dietz, but not necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of people that have Chiari. 1, they may not know it. 2, they don't have any other markers of a connective tissue disorder. So like Chiari is in there. A lot of the LDS patients do have Chiari, but a lot of them don't. It's just kind of, a toss up of what's going to happen. Back when I was 8, when I had the reconstructive surgery on my foot, my pediatric orthopedic was like, okay, well, if there's something wrong with your foot, there can't be just something wrong with your foot. That just doesn't happen. So he sent me to a neurologist, and the neurologist got me to go through all these kinds of tests. They found my heart issue then. Obviously this was when I was 8 years old. So over 20 years ago, there was no such thing as Loeys-Dietz syndrome, or at least there wasn't a name for it. And so everyone wanted to put me in the Marfan category. My cardiologist
that's closely related to the Loeys-Dietz syndrome. It had a lot of similarities.
The only real difference is what I tell a lot of people when I introduce myself, like when I talk about Loeys-Dietz and try to describe it to someone. I say it's basically Marfan's, except for you add aneurysms, and you add the only thing that you add is aneurysms. Can do anything that Marfan's has, I have, but you just add the best thing, the aneurysms.
You're like the limited edition.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of funny. So as far as both my Homocystinuria doctor and my Loeys-Dietz doctor know, I am the only Homocystinuria patient with Loeys-Dietz, and I'm the only Loeys-Dietz patient with Homocystinuria. So I got a unique combo, which is really weird because, Loeys-Dietz, I'm not allowed to really lift anything extremely heavy. I have to watch all my limitations, and anything that will strain my heart, I'm not allowed to do, which, a normal 29-year-old, a lot of time to keep in shape, you lift weights, you run, you do it, you do whatever whatever you want to do to, keep active, and you eat all the protein that you want. Well, not me. I'm actually very lucky. My protein allotment is 45 to 50 grams a day.
Well, first I want to go back a little bit because you're jumping a lot of places. So you mentioned that you can't lift weights and stuff, but I also know you're a big swimmer. So how does that work where you're able to do that and still be alive? Is that fair to say?
I didn't get, like I said, I didn't get diagnosed till I was 2015. So I was 23, 24 years old. Actually, by the time I got my diagnosis, I was 24. I got the blood panel when I was 23, but by the time the results came back, I was already 24. That's another story in itself. Fighting with insurance is always fun because insurance said, your genetic blood panel was not medically necessary.
It totally
Well,
was
it was a
though.
life and death situation here. But so I didn't know any of this stuff when I was in. So I stopped competitively swimming when I was 18. I didn't swim in college. Wasn't really fast enough. But I was also getting burnt out. I was starting to not really enjoy myself anymore being in the pool. And I wanted to, so I stopped it. I did look at a small school here in Kentucky to go swim. But even then I would have been one of the slower ones. But I also, once my senior year hit, I just started thinking do I really want to swim in college? And the answer was no. I loved the sport and I still love the sport and I wanted to continue to love the sport. So that's why I kind of stopped after my senior year of high school. But yeah, like I said, I didn't know any of this stuff was going on when I was in high school.
So are you saying that you were flirting with death your whole life and you just didn't know?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, so I've been seeing a cardiologist since I was 8 years old. Like I said, my neurologist sent me to go get a lot of tests done. And one of the tests was a heart echo. And in the heart echo, it showed that my aorta was slightly enlarged. And so from there, I went to go see a cardiologist. What's the word for it? I guess weirdly or coincidentally enough, my cardiologist, his daughter and son were also swimming with me. So it was he wasn't always at the meets, but he was there a lot. He was at a lot of my meets and he would tell me, just don't do anything that would race your heart. And I knew my limitations. Did I push them sometimes? Oh yeah.
What's your limit?
That's kind of as long as I'm not racing my heart, meaning when I exercise, I'm not so out of breath that I can't talk. Swimming, that's sometimes harder because you can't talk while you're swimming. Your face is in the water majority of the time.
Yeah.
I would swim, but then I would get done with my race and then I would be out of breath. But my mom and a bunch of my family or even teammates would be around me to make sure I kept talking. Even though we never had a name for any of the stuff that I have now, there was always a potential that there was something. My mom always knew that there was something. My cardiologist always knew that there was something going on.
So
no one believed them.
Yeah, so you're saying that before your diagnosis, you saw that you got tired often and you'd monitor yourself and then you got...
So when I was 8 years old, I was immediately put on a beta blocker. And a beta blocker, I don't know if you know anything about beta blockers, but they kind of limit your heart rate.
Yeah, I think
they don't
blood pressure or that's something else.
They do lower blood pressure, but they also lower your heart rate. I would get out of breath pretty easily. It's actually worse, a little worse now, but it's because I still push myself sometimes. But I think that I have a competitive bone in my body, and I don't think that will ever go away.
Of course,
especially in the swim.
But do you also feel that since you're getting older, I feel it's example, it's like drinking. Like when I was in college, I feel like I could drink more and now I get drunker with less alcohol and the hangovers get worse. So it is you that your level of activity goes down slowly over time.
Yeah. And it's actually funny. Like you said, I'm a swim coach and I always tell my swimmers, don't ever give up the sport of swimming. One, it's always for you.
Oh, the irony.
The two part is if you stop for 10 years, let's put it this way, stop training for 10 years and then get back in the pool and want to do what you used to do, you're not going to do that anymore. I'm getting back in the pool a lot more than I used to because I teach swim lessons. I coach swimming now. My brain wants to be where I was in high school. When you don't train for 10 years, that's not going to happen. And I'm not supposed to ever let that happen again, as far as going as fast as I did in high school. But now I'm also on 2 beta blockers instead of just 1. Like you said, swimming was always the one thing that was consistent in my life. When I had my Chiari surgery in 8th grade, from 4th to 7th grade, I played volleyball. Played 1 year of basketball because everyone's like, oh, well, you're 6'3". You need to, I wasn't 6'3" back then. I was tall. I was still tall. They're like, you need to play basketball. I was like, I'm good. I'm good. I played 1 year. I played in middle school just to kind of see what the, big hoopla was about, basketball. I hated it. I don't like running. I'm not supposed to run, but back then I didn't have a diagnosis. And so, like, it is what it was. And my dad was actually my basketball coach. And he is always like, when he saw me he told me, give a sign when you want to get out of the game. And I gave him the sign, like within probably
2 minutes.
10 minutes, maybe at the max. Actually, I don't even think it was 10 minutes, probably 5 minutes. But I would give him the sign. But yeah, I played volleyball from fourth to seventh, or about third, fourth to seventh grade. Then I was told I couldn't play anymore, mainly because of my neck fusion. But then, later on we found out about connective tissue disorders and all that good mumbo jumbo. I really enjoyed volleyball, but then, like I said, swimming's been the consistent in my life. I swam from the age of 4 to 18. Yes, I still swim on occasion, but I swam age of 4 to 14. I guess you would say competitively.
Yeah, I didn't
really get on a team.
Yeah, I have here that you say that being on the swimming team has saved your life. What do you mean by that?
Not only did it mask a lot of my symptoms, because when I did get diagnosed, my doctors were surprised I was in the shape that I was. So a normal homocysteine range is supposed to be 0 to 15.
And then, yeah, I have here that yours was at 250.
It was at 250 when I was 24 years old. 250, that range is not good. Above 100, you are prone to strokes. You are prone to lens dislocation. There's a bunch of other stuff.
So are you saying that you just got lucky, really?
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I should not. I'm lucky. One, I'm lucky that I'm here. Two, I'm lucky that I'm in the mental capacity that I'm in. I should have had a stroke by now. Well, by the time I was 24. I've gotten everything under control. Everything's... Well, though, I did have one slip up a couple months ago. I did get over 100 a couple months ago. But that was my fault. I got really down on myself about it. So I learned my lesson from that, and I told myself I'm not going back to that situation.
How do you test yourself for, I think, what is it called?
For the homocysteine levels? So I had to go get my blood. I go get my blood drawn lately. Well, when my numbers were over 100, I would do it probably every 3 months. Recently, I did it with him when I saw my numbers were over 100, I did it 4 weeks apart, about 4 weeks apart. I haven't done it since then because I know my numbers are down. Because I went from within 4 weeks. I mean, if you stay to your diet, your numbers will go down significantly. Like I started keeping track of my diet and everything after I saw that it was at 106 the day I got my bad mistake on my part. I went to go get my results tested the day after Thanksgiving.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But like, isn't it dangerous a little bit because it's only based on I'm guessing your previous day. So like you could have a day where you're really bad, but like, you can almost cheat the blood test. Like you could eat nothing for the day before and be fine.
You have to stay on your diet. And the diet for homocystinuria is, as a lot of homocystinuria patients, and well, it's very similar to PKU. I'm not gonna say the actual name for PKU because I can't even pronounce it. But PKU is very similar. But with HCU, you have to stay on diet. It's basically vegan plus. So I don't eat animal product, and even black beans, which many vegetarian and vegans eat to get their protein. I can eat some black beans, but I can't eat a whole bunch to where it's gonna get me to over 10 grams of protein in one sitting of black beans. So I'm on a low protein diet.
Yeah, so you have to basically pre-plan your entire day.
Yeah, and so then that brings back the swimming thing. Athletes eat a lot of protein, a lot. And I think that's where a couple of years ago, I was working with a sports performance coach, not for myself, but I was taking videos and I was taking photos for him. He was bringing a lot of NFL players in, and I would kind of set up highlight reels and everything, stuff like that for him and them. But, he was always talking to them, like how you need to get a lot of protein in and stuff like that. And he was like, protein's very good for you and all this. And I looked at him and I just started laughing. Like, I just lost it. I lost it. And he goes, well, why are you laughing? I go, protein's not good for everyone. And he goes, well, what do you mean? And I go, I can't eat protein. He goes, well, oh, you need to. You need to. I go, I could potentially die if I eat a lot of protein. And then I educated him all about HCU, and, that changed a lot of his prospects. And, I mean, obviously athletes, have to eat the protein, but there are people like that have HCU, that have PKU, and I think there's a couple other ones where protein's bad. It's deathly. I'm very lucky that my protein allotment is 45 to 50 grams of protein a day. A lot of HCU, PKU people don't get above 20.
Are you saying that, like you mentioned that swimming saved your life? So I'm kind of trying to connect the dots. So are you saying that since you exercise so much, that when you were eating all the protein, your numbers would be lower just because you were basically burning it off so fast?
Maybe. I'm not. I don't. I'm not a science person, so I can't say yes or no on that answer. But maybe. I mean, because I did eat a lot of protein up until I was 23, 24 years old. I mean, like my lunch was most of the time a turkey and cheese sandwich. If you have that for imagine how a single slice of cheese is like 7 grams of protein. Turkey is what, maybe 10, 15 grams of protein. Add that all in together, you have at least almost half of my allotment right there in one little meal. One meal for lunch.
So what is your diet?
It is, so during the week for lunch, I have my grandma makes it for me. It's a vegan pimento cheese sandwich. So it's vegan cheese, meaning it has no dairy in it, and that is about 0 grams of protein in the actual cheese. And then she'll buy the vegan mayo, which has 0 grams of protein. So essentially, the pimento cheese itself is 0 grams of protein. Obviously, peppers and stuff like that maybe have a little bit of protein, but I don't think it's that much, if anything. And then the bread, I eat gluten-free bread, not because I'm gluten-free, but because most gluten-free stuff is lower in protein. So yeah, most of gluten-free stuff is lower in protein. Like the gluten-free bread that I get, it's like 1 gram of protein, roughly. So I'll eat that, and then I'll do like Skinny Pop popcorn. That's 0 grams of protein. Like it just depends on that's during the week. And I'll have some like fruit and veggies.
So what do you eat for protein then to get to the 40 to 50 mark?
So you don't necessarily. I have a formula. My formula, it looks like it's basically like a normal person's protein shake, except for the formula does not have methionine in it. The methionine for me is the deadly part. I'm not supposed to have any methionine. Well, obviously, I'm not going to go read a food label to see if it has methionine in it, because I would never know. Because it doesn't say on a bag of cereal, oh, this has methionine in it. Like, you're not going to find that kind of, like, you would have to like really look for it. And most homocystinuria patients don't look for the methionine, they count the actual protein. So I don't eat a lot of protein, but that's my lunch. My lunch is probably, if I had to take a guess, 5-ish grams of protein, roughly around there. My breakfast is roughly 5 grams of protein, if I had to guess. I logged this all down, but off the top of my head, I don't remember it. But I kind of save a lot of my protein allotment for dinner. That way I can just kind of, pick and choose what I want. My parents own a fast casual Mexican restaurant, and so I eat that a lot for dinner. So yeah, I try to, if I know what I'm going to want for dinner, I kind of put more of my protein allotment in the dinner portion.
Yeah, that's the best meal of the day.
Yeah. And plus, I love breakfast food, but at the same time, I wake up so early and I only give myself enough time to get ready, eat a little bit of breakfast, and get out the door. That I'd rather put it all out. I'd rather, now if I were to weekends, if I want to make a good breakfast, I have time to do that because I don't do much on the weekends. But like I said, I'm not a morning person, so my alarm goes off at 5:45, though I don't get out of bed till 6, and I have to be out the door by 6:50. So I don't give myself much wiggle room to actually make a actual breakfast. It's usually cereal or frozen waffles.
Okay.
It's a quick breakfast because I'm also making my lunch at the same time because I'm too lazy to do it before.
But like you mentioned the formula, so where does the formula come into play?
So it's like I said, it's like I don't know if you know what those GoCo applesauce packets look like.
Yeah.
That's what the formula pack looks like, kind of. It comes in something like that. That's a liquid brand, but there's also a powder form. I get both, but you can't get that, and that's why I've been a big advocate in rare diseases because of the formula. It's not cheap by any means. Like you've said, like I'm a teacher, and being on a teacher's salary and trying to be able to afford this formula is not an easy feat. Kentucky has a little rule. Each state's very different. That's why the Medical Nutrition Equity Act is in place, or trying to get into place. And that's why I'm an advocate for it. The medical formula, if I was not on financial aid through VitaFlow, is about roughly $500 a case.
Whoa.
And in each case, there's probably 20 to 30 little things of formula, and I have to take it like 3 a day. That doesn't even get me a month if I just take one case. And so I luckily do qualify, but that's the thing. So it's $500 because so in Kentucky, it's if you are on private insurance and your insurance covers any of it, you do not get help from the government.
That's very weird.
Yeah. And so I am on private insurance because I get insurance through my job. I mean, that's how it is. And, being a teacher in today's world, it's not easy to pay if I were to pay the $500, that would be more than half of my paycheck, like in a 2-week period. And so luckily VitaFlow has a program called Formula for Success. It's a financial aid program, and I qualified for it because of my income, and I get it for about $266. And
That's still a lot, though.
Yeah, they give me, it's not $266 per case. It's $266 for, I think they give me 2 or 3 cases,
It's still kind of a lot, though.
Yeah, that gets me roughly through 3-ish months. But yeah, it is a lot, and that's why a lot of PKU, HCU, a lot of these, it's called an airborne metabolic disorder, and so that's why everyone with those kind of disorders is advocating for the Medical Nutrition Equity Act. I just got this past fall, my congressman, my representative, John Yarmouth, signed on to the Medical Nutrition Equity Act. I've been getting on him for 3 years about it, and he signed on for it. But this is why that needs to go through, because it would make the government pay for it.
The thing you're advocating for is that right now with the law that if you have private insurance, the federal government will not help with your formulas. So now you want to change it so that the government will help with the formulas.
Yeah, because there's a lot of patients out there with these airborne metabolic disorders who can't afford the formula.
Yeah, I mean,
and if you can't afford,
like I'm thinking I don't know, but I feel like you're a better case in terms of not needing it as much. But I'm sure there are a lot more people that need a lot more. And like you say with $500 per month, for another person that needs more, that's easily $1,000 more, and no one can afford that.
Well, the Medical Nutrition Equity Act would also help with medical food. I'm lucky, like I said, my protein allotment is 45 to 50 grams of protein. I can go to the grocery and buy most things that I need to eat. Those that are below 20 or below, they can find some things at the grocery. Like you can find cheese, you can find, some bread.
It's extremely difficult.
You need that low. I have a good friend. Kimber, are you in YAR? You're in YAR, right?
Yeah, that's how we met.
Okay. Well, I couldn't remember. We met through our Odyssey, our YAR. But I don't know if you've met Kylie Matthews. Her daughter has PKU. Kylie's daughter, I think she just turned 1 a month or so ago. But she will I'm not going to say never, but she will find very little at the grocery because most PKUs probably don't go over 10 grams of protein a day. So she's got to order the protein food off There's a lot of companies that sell low protein foods, and those cost a lot of money. And so, like, for us, though, that can't eat the normal, like, turkey cheese sandwich every day, it gets costly.
Yeah, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just looking at how much protein. So like a shrimp cooked is 24 grams of protein,
Yeah.
and that's like
How to think of how much I can eat in a day is I can't remember which steak it is, but there's a certain kind of steak that is 45 or 50 grams of protein, and that would take up all of my protein in one day.
yeah, and then
One
for people that
steak.
are worse than you, that means a lot of ill, vomiting,
Yeah.
feeling sick,
Yeah. So
hospital.
knock on wood, nothing has ever happened like that. I never, and I'm not the normal Homocystinuria patient. I'm not the normal Loeys-Dietz patient either.
How do you know how much protein you can have a day?
Your nutritionist, everyone with HCU, I probably shouldn't say everyone, but most people with HCU have a nutritionist, or, well, I could say dietitian. We have a registered dietitian that specializes in metabolic disorders. And most of the time, it's in the beginning of your journey. They sit down and talk with you, and it's in the beginning. It's more trial and error to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. Like in the beginning, I changed my diet, but I didn't change it that much because they were trying to figure out if medication alone would help. And when I say medication, it's supplements like B6 supplement, B12 supplement, betaine. I feel like I'm forgetting something. B6, B12, betaine. Oh, folic acid. Folic acid's the other one.
You could be making up names for all I know.
So they tried to, my nutritionist, and it's a combination of nutritionist and geneticist. They see what helps. Every single patient is different in the forms of how much, all that they take. And then how they figure out how much formula you take. Well, the formula itself is kind of more based on height, weight, and age. And that's how they kind of determine that. But like, as far as how much food you can eat in a day, like it's trial and error. It's a trial and error thing. My numbers started to go down by not, when I didn't limit like they kept trying different things, and at one point my protein allotment was going down, but it wasn't going down that much. And it was because when you're just diagnosed with something, you don't fully understand everything. And so all these new plant-based foods are coming out. So like, Beyond Burgers, Impossible Burgers, and all that. Back, 5 years ago, when I was first diagnosed, I thought, low protein meant just no meat. Like I didn't, naive 23-year-old that was just diagnosed with 24-year-old that was just diagnosed with homocystinuria. You tell her low protein, her brain goes to, all right, well then no meat. And so my grandma would cook me Beyond Burgers, and my numbers were going down, but they weren't going down fast by any means.
I mean, like when you first diagnosed and you want to like lower your number, shouldn't you just like eat water and broccoli till it's like, and then work your way up again?
I wish that's how it worked, but unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. There's a lot of like I said, there's a lot of trial and error stuff. But yeah, like my grandma would cook me Beyond Burgers, and I would eat them. A Beyond Burger is 20 grams of protein. Well, when my dietitian was like, so your numbers are going down, but they're not like going down significantly. What are you eating? And I was like, oh, I'm eating this, this, and this, and I'm also eating Beyond Burgers. And she's like, you're eating Beyond Burgers? I go, yeah, it's not meat. It's not meat. She's like, do you know how much protein's in there? I go, it's not meat. So, no, not really. I mean, I don't really pay attention to that. I was like, I'm also 24 years old. Like, I've gotten a lot better, and I do a lot better. Like, I go to the grocery, and if I want to find something new, I read the nutrition label. Like, I've become a pro at reading nutrition labels.
Yeah, you're like the one that like standing in the supermarket in the aisle, reading everything.
Yeah, yeah. But she goes, yeah, 20 grams of protein is not something you probably, like, if it's one thing, 20 grams of protein for one thing is probably something that you shouldn't be eating. I go, oh, well, like, why not? And she was like, think about it this way. 20 grams of protein is a lot. I was like, okay, well, what do I eat then? And they explained it a lot more, and that helped. But when you're first diagnosed, like, you need that good, stable sit down talk of, this is what's going to happen. This is what you need to do. I'm a very black and white person that I need to be told what I can do and what I can't do. You can't put any gray area in between, because I will take that gray area.
Yeah, I can understand like where you're coming from, because it seemed like your life was relatively normal, most of it, and then now you're saying you're limited by your eating, but like you never really had the side effects of overeating, so like you were just like, how bad
No.
can it be? But then I guess you got a reality check or something
Well,
like
how it
that.
all happened was, so the spring of my senior year of college, you know yourself, so you know when you're not feeling yourself. You know when things are off. So my spring of my senior year of college, I had been in spring semester for probably about a month, and at the time, all my friends were getting mono, and then I started feeling, yeah. So I started feeling kind of weird. I had never had mono before, so I didn't know what mono was, and so I just was like, oh well, I have mono then. And so, like, the symptoms that I had were, I had headaches that I felt like they were going down my body. I got very nauseous with the headaches. And they were coming roughly every 3 to 4 weeks. And that's not normal for me. And they were bad headaches too, to the point where I went back in my room and slept until they went away. And so the first time that it happened, I just kind of ignored it. And then it happened again. And I was like, okay, well, since all my friends have mono, I'm just gonna go get tested for it. Let's just see what happens. Well, I went to the University Health Center. They're like, oh well, you don't have mono. These are your symptoms. I'm like, okay, well, I have something. I don't know what it is, but I have something going on, and I know it's not normal, because it doesn't feel normal. We're like, well, we can test you for this, this, and this if you want us to. Like, I think it was like the flu and stuff like that, but we're like, we don't think you have that either. I'm like, okay, well, thanks, thanks, but no thanks. Like, if you don't think no need to test me for it. So I left the University Health Center. I called my mom, told her everything that was going on. And she's like, how bad is it? Do you think you can last until the end of the semester to go see your neurosurgeon? I was like, yeah, it's not that bad. It's whatever. I went to college about 5.5 hours away from home. And so she came down probably about once a month after it started happening. And she did come down during one of the episodes. And she told me I was very jaundiced looking and very pale. And she goes, yeah, something's not right. So after I graduated I went to St. Brady University down in Birmingham, Alabama. After I graduated, about a week after I graduated, we went to go see my neurosurgeon. It was for a routine checkup. We told him what was going on. He did all the scans that he needed to do for brainstem wise. He goes, you're fine on my end, but I am going to send you up to genetics, because you don't complain. He knew me. He's like, you don't complain about anything. And so I will send you up to genetics. We're going to get a full blood panel again. Because before I had my Chiari surgery, he did a blood panel. Nothing came up, which I don't understand. I don't know, because homocystinuria you're born with. And that's the other thing is, so back in 92, homocystinuria was not on the newborn screening. It's on the newborn screening now. And so if, all the babies now are tested for all this kinds of other diseases through the newborn screening, and homocystinuria is one of them.
Yeah, kids are so lucky these days.
Yeah. So how homocystinuria was missed back in 2006, I have no idea. If they were even looking for it back then, who knows? My guess is probably not, because I would have been diagnosed back in 2006 if that were the case. Or maybe my homocysteine levels weren't that high in 2006. Whatever the scenario was in 2006, who knows? But my mom, after I was diagnosed with homocystinuria in 2015, we talked, would have anything changed if I was diagnosed with homocystinuria in 2006? Not really. I mean, yeah, my diet would have changed sooner. A lot of things would have changed sooner. But would that have changed my lifestyle? With everything I did? No. I would have dealt with it the same way that I dealt with it when I was 24 years old. You can't, what can you do? The difference between being 24 and 14, there is a big difference. Like, you're much more mature at the age of 24 than you are at 14. I think I would have, been a little bit more scared to take it on at the age of 14 than I was at 24. Because you got, the pressure of your friends and everything. There's nothing I would have changed. Everything worked out for the best and worked out the way that it should be. I have a strong belief that, everything happens for a reason. And those reasons we will never ever know why they happen when they happen. Homocystinuria is a big part of my life, and it's something that I have to manage. Loeys-Dietz is another big part of my life. I always say, when I'm 29 years old, so I'm at the age of, as the doctors call it, childbearing years. I've had the genetic talks, and, they don't scare me. The only one that scares me about passing down is Loeys-Dietz. Homocystinuria doesn't scare me at all. I don't know if it's because I think it's easier to manage. I'm not saying Loeys-Dietz isn't easy to manage, because the only thing that happens for Loeys-Dietz for me right now is every other year I get a full body scan to check for aneurysms. Every 6 months I get a heart echo to make sure my aorta is, roughly around the same. And I take 2 beta blockers to help with it. But Loeys-Dietz does scare me a little. The fact that they're, open heart surgery could potentially be in my future does scare me. I've had brain surgery. That did scare me. It didn't scare me until the day of the surgery. But I'm one of those people that pushes things off until that day comes. I don't let it scare me. I don't let things scare me. I try not to let things scare me until that moment happens. I will never forget the day of my Chiari surgery. My parents and I were at the Ronald McDonald House. My dad's alarm went off to go for the surgery. I remember waking up. I don't remember much about the surgery, but I do remember waking up, lying in bed, crying, telling my parents, do not make me go through this. Do not make me go through this. I was scared. I didn't show it before, but I was scared. I think the possibility of, making it off the table was a real, thought in my head as a 13-year-old. Am I going to be able to go back to school? Is everything going to be okay when I get out? Obviously, everything happened, great. Everything turned out great. I had the best neurosurgeon in the world, the master, as I call him. But like I said, everything happens for a reason, and things happen. And they happen when they happen because they're supposed to happen that way.
So I'm going to just go totally different direction, but what food do you miss the most?
What food do I miss the most? There's a number of things. First one of all things is Chick-fil-A.
Really? No, there gotta be a better answer. I'm not accepting that answer. I don't think it's that great.
Yeah, no, Chick-fil-A is something that I do miss a lot. Real cheese. I do miss real cheese.
I never had the cheese that you were talking about before, so I guess it tastes a lot different.
It tastes it's not stringy cheese. When you bite into grilled cheese and it's stringy.
Like mozzarella sticks?
Yeah, it's not. On occasion I do have real cheese. When I'm eating, when I go out to eat and I have pizza, most pizza places do not have dairy-free cheese. Blaze is one, but most places don't. If you say that you want a vegan pizza, they're not going to put cheese on it. And to me, that's not pizza. We need to put cheese on it.
Preach.
But another thing I miss is, actually, there's not, honestly, besides Chick-fil-A and real cheese, there's not much that I really care. Everyone's like, oh, well, don't you miss eating steak? I'm like, I haven't had steak since I was 23, 24 years old. And I honestly didn't eat much of it back then. I had it on maybe special occasions, but it wasn't a once a week I'm going to eat steak kind of ordeal. So I don't miss steak.
Do you ever you say you mentioned Chick-fil-A, you could have a bite of it. Yeah,
I guess I could have a bite, but
it's not satisfactory enough for you.
No. Another thing I miss, you probably don't know it because you're from up north, right?
Yeah, New York.
Okay, so there's a restaurant. It's based out of Cincinnati. It's called Skyline Chili. This is kind of some people like it, some people don't kind of thing. I love Skyline Chili, or I should say I did love Skyline Chili. I miss that so much. I can still get Skyline Chili because they have a vegetarian version, but it's not the same.
Wait,
the vegetarian version.
So it's a chili?
Yeah, in a sense, yes. It's a Cincinnati chili.
Wait, is it called Cincinnati chili?
Yes. There's a such thing. Cincinnati chili is not chili of what you think of chili.
I
Um,
honestly have never heard of Cincinnati chili in my life, so I'm curious. I'm just googling what it is. I'll throw it up on the screen
it's
for everyone to see.
yeah, it's got cinnamon in it.
Cinnamon in a
Um,
chili? What?
yes, yeah, but Skylines, at least for me, I can't taste the cinnamon in Skyline. Now there's Gold Star where I can taste the cinnamon, and I will not eat Gold Star
How do I not know about any of these chilies?
because you're in New York.
I guess, but like, I feel like I should at least heard the name of it.
I'm being serious though. Like, most people outside of the northern Kentucky, I'm not really in northern Kentucky, more in central Kentucky, but outside of really near me, Kentucky and Cincinnati area, well, I mean, Skyline is branching out. There is a Skyline in Florida near where my brother lives in Florida. There's a Skyline chili in Florida now, but not many people know what Cincinnati chili is. I mean,
No, I'm just blown
without
away
living,
right now.
it's really good. But like I said, like that's another thing I miss. Like I said, they do have a vegetarian version, but the vegetarian version is rice and beans mixture over spaghetti. That's not chili.
I don't know.
That's not.
You like to redefine the chili that I like know of. You redefined it all for me. So now I'm like missing out on life right now.
And another thing about chili and my part of the U.S. is we put noodles in our chili, like spaghetti noodles.
Noodles.
That's the only way I will eat chili is with noodles. I mean, obviously I'll eat chili anyway, but I prefer it with noodles. When I was in college, my roommates and we made chili. I can't remember if it was my junior or senior year. We made chili though. And I made them buy spaghetti and they're like, why? I was like, you don't have to cook it in it because we don't cook it in it, but we have it on the side. And then what we do is you put the spaghetti, the noodles, or the angel hair pasta noodles, whatever. And then you put the chili on top. And then you have your Fritos and you use the Frito scoops and you eat your chili and put mounds and mounds of cheese on it.
Are you sure we live like in the same country? I'm just blown away right now. I'm open person. Like I never heard of it, so I'm like open to the. Does sound very weird, but I am willing to try it because it does sound interesting.
I don't know if Skyline sells it up at grocery stores up in New York, but I know they do sell their base. Obviously not the noodles. You have to go buy your own noodles, but they do sell a base or at least a seasoning packet. I think you can actually get the seasoning, at least since I don't know if it's Skyline per se, but you can get like a Cincinnati chili seasoning packet off of Amazon.
My mind is blown right now.
It's good. I like it. All right, I should say I did like it. Unfortunately, I can't have it anymore.
Yeah, what you don't know about me is that I actually cannot eat any food anymore.
Oh, really?
So I haven't tasted food in the last. It'll be 6 years in November.
So do you have a lot of formula?
Yeah, I only live on. Well, I can only live on formula, but you can blend the meals and just I have a tube in my stomach, but like I really don't know what's going on in my body. I did do it for nutrition value.
You would actually benefit off the Medical Nutrition Equity Act as well.
My insurance covers my food.
Oh, well then it must be New York must cover it then.
I'm not sure. Well, I have a private insurance and I have Medicaid.
There are a lot of states. I can send you the link when we get off. There's a lot of states that do cover for their patients.
They cover my food. Like I could literally order $20 and they just send it to me.
Yeah, Kentucky is not one.
What? It's so weird. Like why? Such a dumb rule.
Yeah. Well, we actually have my mom knows someone that's in the local legislation here in Kentucky, so we're gonna meet with her soon to see if we can get Kentucky to change.
But you just said you live in Florida now, so don't you have to do it all over again?
I live in Kentucky. My brother lives in Florida.
Oh, okay. Okay, it would be weird if you do all this work for Kentucky and then you're like, oh wait, guys, I'm over here.
Yeah, no, I live in Kentucky. Would it be nice to live in Florida? Yeah. Yeah, especially right now when it's like 30-something degrees outside. But I love everything that I do in the city of Louisville. I love being a teacher at the school I'm at. I love teaching swim lessons at the gym, at the fitness center that I'm at. I love coaching the high school girls that I coach. I wouldn't change any of it for the world. So that's
What
if I go ahead.
I was gonna say, if I'm ever in Kentucky, I don't know how or why, but we'll meet up.
Yeah, yeah. I love. There is nothing like being in the city of Louisville during Derby time. Derby is the
Like horse
Kentucky Derby,
derby. Oh, okay, yeah.
like
I'm
the Kentucky Derby.
in
There's nothing
in
like
what
being in the
way
city.
though? Like,
It's just a different. You know how Mardi Gras is to New Orleans,
yeah.
like big party city, anything like that for Mardi Gras. That's. I mean, everyone sees the horse race on TV and they think it's just a 1 day thing. No, It's 3 weeks.
Really?
I mean, yes, the horse race is only 1 day, but there is events starting 3 weeks. So the thing that opens it up is called Thunder Over Louisville. And Thunder Over Louisville is kind of basically as it sounds. There's a big fireworks show downtown on the Ohio River that kicks off Derby. The weeks leading up to Derby. And then there's also the bed races where you're in a bed and I think someone's pushing it and you're racing in beds. There's
Sounds so
the
awesome.
Run for the Rose. I love. There's nothing like Derby here.
You're like
There's something
blowing my
called
mind
Run for
right
the
now.
Rose. Run for the Rose is where people have like these waitress, or waiter or waitress. What are they called? You know, those big plate things that they carry all the food on.
Yeah.
They have those things, and it has glasses of wine, rose wine on it, and they run to wherever and they try not to spill the wine. There's also the parade. There's the Pegasus Parade, the steamboat race. So we have a steamboat in Louisville called the Belle of Louisville, and it races. Recently, I think it's been the Queen of Cincinnati, or maybe it's been the Mississippi Queen. I can't remember what boat they race. They race one boat. There's a steamboat that comes to Louisville, and they'll race for a pair of antlers. They have like antlers that they race for. There's what else? There's Oaks, which is the day before Derby. A lot of people know about Oaks, but not so many people.
I know nothing. You're just blowing my mind right now.
So the day before Derby is called the Kentucky Oaks, and the Kentucky Oaks is for the fillies. So they say fillies get the lilies. Fillies are girl horses, and the girl horse. Because I'm not saying that girls can't race in the Derby, because girl horses can if they want to, but the Derby is primarily for the males because of the length of the race. A lot of times the girls can't go that fast, that long. And so they have the day before, which is the Oaks. And in the city of Louisville, I don't know if it's outside of the city of Louisville, but I don't think it is. In the city of Louisville, most schools, if not every school in the city of Louisville, will have Friday before Derby off. It's called Derby Eve. It's Derby Eve or Kentucky Oaks, whatever you want to call it. And that's because most people, not everyone, but the amount of, and then also the amount of traffic that's in the city of Louisville on that day is just horrendous because everyone comes in town that day to go to the Derby the next day. I mean, Derby is and then they also have, so the night before Derby, there's a bunch of big parties. There's been a lot more big parties in the recent years. There have been newer ones, but the most famous one is called the Barnstable Brown Party. Or sorry, the Brownstable Brown, Barnstable Brown Party. A lot of celebrities come in for it. And then the next day is Derby. And that's you see the Derby race at now it's almost 7 o'clock. I think it's almost 7 o'clock by the time the Derby actually goes off. But the Derby is a full day of races. There's not just that one Derby race. They start about 11 o'clock in the morning and they go until there's one race after the Derby race. And the only reason I know so much is not only because I live in the city of Louisville and I have my whole life, besides college, but my grandfather was a horse racing commissioner. Wow. And so Derby and Churchill Downs has a big place in my heart. I will always love going to Churchill Downs because my grandfather has since passed. He passed when I was in high school, but he was a big influence on my life. One of the biggest reasons why I love sports so much and why when I was in college, I wanted to be a sports journalist. He had a huge influence on my life. He was also part owner of a AAA baseball team here in Louisville. Now it's called the Bats. They switched the Bats, and I think I want to say 2000, 2001. But before that, it was the Redbirds, and they were the AAA team. The Redbirds were the AAA team for the Cincinnati not Cincinnati, what am I saying? The St. Louis Cardinals, and now Louisville Bat. It's the Louisville Bats, and they are the farm team for the Cincinnati Reds. My life has revolved around sports, and I think that's the other thing is, sports has been such a big part of my life because I'm not able to do it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. My brother has played almost every sport known to man. He's played baseball. He's played what else? He's played basketball. He's played football. He's played lacrosse. He played like, everyone plays pee wee soccer. He's played everything. His main focus now is golf. He's a PGA golfer. So my family's big in the golf world now. My parents travel a lot for golf. Usually I go to one tournament a year, and it's usually during the summer, because that's when I can get off work, because I don't have work. I do. I teach swim lessons still, and I coach a summer swim team. But like, it's much easier for me to get off during the summer.
That's the best sport to have in the summer. But we did kind of came a complete circle here. So like, before I take a mic away from you, is there anything you want to say, promote, any words of wisdom? The mic is yours.
No, I just guess, the biggest thing is for everyone out there, to promote the Medical Nutrition Equity Act. I think that's the biggest thing for me is getting the word out there for that. People shouldn't have to pay $500 at least for formula, for something that they have to live on. They shouldn't have to die trying to be able to afford something that they can't. It's simple as that. Like, why if you can't afford something, and it's because the insurance companies set things so high and out of reach that it's not possible for someone, that are on stable income not to be able to afford. I mean, it's like, having that formula is, or even the food that you need to live on. Why even put someone's life at risk?
I totally agree with everything you're saying, and the laws are sometimes bullshit. And thanks to you for fighting the fight for, like I mentioned earlier, that the kids have it so lucky. I mean, there's still a lot more work to be done, but we have done so much just in the past 20 years to help these young kids. And hopefully our generation and the generation after us will continue to support the chronic ill community. Thank you, Samantha, for coming on here. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. And I'll see everyone next time. Bye.